you?
Hi.
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited. This is all about you and your journey in music and how you guys got to where you are now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? well, but did you guys grow up together, born and raised in the same area? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we did. We're both from Prince George's County, Maryland.
Okay.
So that's what we named the band after, Prince George. And I grew up with my now brother-in-law, who's his little brother. And so, yeah, I don't know. We're 4 years apart, and I met Kenny when I was like 12. He was like 16.
Yeah,
and
she was. You're creeping a little bit.
I was trying to holla, you know how it is. You know what it is. But I was really young, so he waited until I grew up, and just the decent thing to do.
Yeah,
and
that was nice of him.
I definitely didn't make it easy. But yeah, we're from the same place. Our parents live like 10 minutes apart still, and it's a simple tale.
Huge network of family and friends that all
in
intertwine
common
and stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. And how did you get into music?
I grew up taking classical piano lessons, and then when I was about 15, I just was sick of piano and I just wanted to play guitar, so I just pivoted, started learning AC/DC songs on guitar, got really into rock and metal for a while, and then started learning production just I guess that was around 2011. Started learning production, was kind of just sick of trying to record everything all the time, in a studio, having to rely on that for live drums and all that stuff. We did start in a rock project as well. So kind of pivoted from there to electronic music. And then I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've been singing since I could talk. My mom is a opera singer and voice teacher.
Oh, wow.
So I studied voice because she made me. And then in college, I was like, I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Sure.
And I figured I've been writing my own stuff since I was 11, but I figured I'd keep doing that on the side for fun. But I wanted to kind of pivot to the social sciences and build a career in psychology. So I majored in psych in college. And then my mom was kind of like, you should minor in music. You should continue to study and develop, music and your craft or whatever. So I did. I listened to my mom. Mother knows best. Here we are. I don't use that. I've used the music minor a lot more than I've used the psych degree. So.
Well, that's good.
Mom was right.
Mom was right. Yeah, right. So she was an opera singer. So you, like you said, you grew up doing that. That did you learn how to sing opera? That must have been really interesting. I mean, difficult, obviously.
Yeah, well, I'm classically trained. It's never been the way that I sing, but I do have a little bit of a vibrato to my voice that my mom also has, which I think is kind of natural. And yeah, I always kind of veered more towards jazzy stuff and pop stuff. But when you have that classical training, you can really do a lot more, because that's where you get your technique from, breath support and sustain and all those things that kind of make you more of an athletic singer and a healthy singer. Those are things that you learn, from classically trained vocal study. So I owe my mom a lot, because she, I used to smoke and shit and talk really loud.
Get some rasp.
Yeah. And I had a little bit of a vocal injury in my early 20s, just from singing improperly and kind of singing loud in college with my friends when we would party and talking loud, and it just wears on it, So my mom was really instrumental, no pun intended, in getting me to just be more aware of the way that I talk, where I talk, how loud I talk, and just take care of it. So I think that's why I can still do all the things I can do, because she kind of instilled that in me. It's very much a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that really helps with like longevity. And if you're touring and stuff, like people blow their voice out in the first like 3 shows because they're not used
And
to
I've
it.
never done that. I've never done that on tour. Like on tour, I have to sleep 8 hours a night or I can't do what I do. And I just like shut the fuck up in the car all day until we get to the venue. You know what I mean?
No
Like
one
that's what I
talk
do.
to me.
Yeah, that's what you have to do though. I mean, when you're really singing, I sing really high and I also sing low. So I have to be able to, in order to do both, I have to just take really good care of it.
Sure. And Kenny, so were you in a band prior to this? Or
yeah, I was in several bands. I went to Berkeley College of Music. So I was in a couple
Let's
bands
talk about
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually, yeah, I started learning. I majored in music business there. At the time, my parents really wanted me to do like, business, and I really wanted to do music. So it was like this kind of fight for that.
Yeah.
So
Works out with the band too, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, yeah, and especially I kind of stretched that truth a little bit after when I was actually looking for. I put the whole band together initially, finding Naomi, and later on our drummer Isabel. But I kind of had this flyer, and it was like music business guy, like expert in bands and management, and
which was a lie.
It was a lie. They still make fun of me for that now, but
you gotta fake it till you make it, man. You gotta.
I always say it worked at the end because here we are. So.
Well, our drummer Isabel, her sister encouraged her to respond to this flyer on University of Maryland's campus that was just full of lies about all these things Kenny had never done, and I was kind of like, whatever. Like I didn't really
Grammy award winning.
Right.
Yeah. And Isabel, our drummer, saw the flyer and was like, this looks really amateur. This band looks like a joke. I'm definitely not gonna answer this. And then her sister was like, you should just give it a go and just call them. You never know. So I guess the rest is history. She still works with us. She's not here. She's in Atlanta now, but we'll be in the same place eventually. We're working it out.
You guys are still in Maryland?
We're in LA now.
Oh, LA. Right on. Okay.
Yeah, we moved here like a month before the pandemic.
That's awesome. I moved from San Diego about a month ago to Nashville. So.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was born and raised in San Diego. I know Southern California quite well.
Nice. Yeah, we drove through Nashville on our way here, moving out.
Got some hot chicken and
what's that?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Did you
Party
take
Foul?
Party Foul.
Oh my
That's
God.
our spot. That's our spot.
What level did you get? Did you
I
get
go
Nashville
all the
Hot?
way, baby.
Did you really?
Turn it all the way
I
up.
think we went medium.
No,
but...
I go hot. Actually, I think maybe I got medium, but I got the hot sauce on the side. I got it for dipping. So I go medium and then I dip it in the hot.
So, okay. So I have a 13-year-old and almost 5-year-old on a Friday. And my wife and I, we all went there. And we'd been here for like a couple weeks, and we've had the chicken. We're like, oh, it's awesome. But we hadn't had the Nashville chicken yet, right?
Yeah.
So we're like looking it up. We're like, okay, Party Foul. Weird coincidence. Coming out of the door at Party Foul was Ryan Key from, he was now I'm losing train. He's in Newfound Glory now, but
oh, nice.
Oh, funny.
He was in Yellow Card. But anyway, so he's walking out the door, and we go in, and the waitress is like, what, the hot is like ridiculously hot, and like the medium is hot. So we're like, oh, we'll go Nashville Hot, I think was what it was called. My son and I, we couldn't, like 3 bites in, he like gave up, and I'm just like, well, I'm here, I'm gonna try. And it was like the most painful experience ever. So now I know to go to like medium or even lower on the end, because I didn't really realize how hot like Nashville Hot Chicken is. Like it's
if
ridiculous.
If I'm not in pain, it's not hot enough.
Yeah, I was like literally in pain. I'm like
sweating, burning.
I'm like, we waited a while. I mean, it was busy. There was like a Tennessee basketball game on, so it was like packed in there.
Yeah.
And we waited a while, so I'm like, I'm just gonna fight through this. But it was intense. Like,
I actually have a hat. I have a Party Foul trucker hat because I love hats.
Oh,
and
cool.
I bought it on our way here, moving here. And then I traded it with my roommate. He really loved it. So he gave me his Persian Pink Panther t-shirt and I gave him my party foul hat. We did a trip.
Very cool.
But I'm going to order another one because they've got really cute merch.
Well, next time you're in Nashville, grab a hat and cruise on by because it's pretty close to where we're at.
Yeah, for sure. We will.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, back to you guys. Tell me about Berkeley, because I've interviewed a lot of people that have attended Berkeley and they all have a different story. And it's either like at this point of when I went there, it was just like you just walked in and they didn't care, or it was like it was gnarly, you had to sight read on the spot and bring 17 songs and so tell me about your experience.
I had a teacher, so I mean notoriously guitar players just cannot sight read for shit. And
is that what you went in as, guitar player? Sorry.
I did.
Okay.
I actually went I went for the summer program first, so I actually had a professor there train me specifically for the audition, which was really helpful.
Okay.
So he was like, these are kind of so I feel like I definitely had a leg up there because it definitely was a rough audition, but and I had a professor too that was like, you'll never be in a band with these sight reading skills. So I just started laughing in the middle of it because I was just messing it up so bad. But I think you just have so many different kinds of people and musicians at Berkeley, so you can kind of make it what you want.
Sure.
There's a lot of, there are still a lot of really kind of intense jazz musicians there. And then there's the more, I think actually now they opened it up to production. You can audition with Ableton production skills now.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
A lot of people really want to just go either for business or to learn production engineering. So I think they're kind of making it a little more inclusive to that.
That's interesting because I just the last person that I interviewed, this guy Max Leone, he went there as well, and he said the same thing. He's like, I went in as a guitar player, but all I wanted to do was learn Ableton and production. Yeah. So he was just doing that on YouTube instead of
I did the same thing. I would go into they had these computer labs with Logic set up and a keyboard. So I just I started I was studying business, but really I was just learning production on my own. And then, even after the fact, I went back home after Berkeley. I did an internship out here in LA at ASCAP. And then
cool.
I really want to start a band, and people are kind of you're crazy or whatever at that job, but still supportive, but also you're crazy. So I went home to my parents' house and I learned on YouTube for, in the basement for 2 years, basically. And I taught myself production. And
so you left LA left the internship to move back to Maryland?
Yeah, I did.
Is that when the band started?
I was home for Christmas from college. It was my senior year of college. I went to school in Chicago. So I was home and, back home, everybody comes home for the holidays. That's just a thing. And we all kind of hang out. And so I was home and Kenny and I started hanging out and making music. And we started writing. I was just home for that month. And then I had to go back to school. But at that point, we'd already kind of had a couple conversations about let's start a band. Why not? I just have to finish school. So I went to finish my senior semester, which was, it's always hectic at the end. And so I was pretty busy, but I was still going in the practice rooms at my school and kind of FaceTiming or Zooming, whatever the hell we used to do. What was that? I don't even know.
Skype?
Maybe it was FaceTime.
Yeah. But I would bring my computer and be in the practice rooms and we would just talk, send ideas back and forth. I would just record my own vocal in GarageBand over whatever he would send me. And then I'd send it back. And that's kind of how
is that kind of how what became the band and everything from there?
Well, we were a rock band at first. So the tracks were a lot more guitar heavy and bass heavy and just more rock, just sonically. Even the production was more rock. And that's when we met our drummer. That's when he had posted that ad.
Okay, so you knew about the ad. Were you aware of the ad?
I was aware of it. I didn't know what it said. He told me the flyer. I didn't know how.
I think to tie all this together, like I had started looking for like a singer basically, and so I posted these flyers up in like multiple cities and on like multiple Craigslist accounts.
Did you like tour yourself and drive around and like put these flyers into these college campuses?
I taped it up around a tree. That was like a low point. Around a tree.
That was a low point.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really determined to like find.
I don't think you can call it a low point since that's how we got Isabel.
That's true. Well, the tree was, but anyways. So
was it real quick? Was it one of those things where you had to rip this like the number off of it? Like
it was definitely like one of those things.
Yeah, where it was like you pre-cut. Like, and it was like somebody like ripped it off.
Yeah, I think Isabel took the whole flyer down.
Yeah,
she's smart. She didn't want any competition.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we were in a 5-piece rock band with her, the two of us, our friend Ben, who was on bass, and then my brother-in-law Eric would come play guitar, like a second guitar. And then we were a band for like 6 months. We played just a couple shows in DC, and then nobody's schedules could get together. And Kenny and I were kind of tired of waiting on people. Everybody was kind of in a different phase of life. Like Isabel was still in her senior year of college when she started working with us. I had just graduated. So Kenny, had been in his parents' basement for 2 years learning production. We were kind of ready to do it for real and not just as a hobby. And we just needed like some commitment, and we weren't really able to get that from our bandmates at that time. So we kind of were like, all right, like, why don't we just pivot to doing like a side project where it's more like just production and vocal. Mm-hmm. And that's when we launched Prinze George. And we moved to New York. So we launched it there in 2013, the summer of 2013, we moved there. And then we dropped our first single in fall of 2014 on SoundCloud. And
is that Children in the Audience?
Children in the Audience. Good for you. Wow. That track. Wow.
My favorite thing is, that was of course our first song ever, but Naomi's dad always says, it's a good song. Not a great song, but it's a good song. So I always think of that.
Whenever something's like, like you have some food or like you see a blouse or something in the store window and you're like, oh, that's cute, but it's like, not amazing. We say good, not great for my dad.
Okay.
Good, not great.
When did he start going, this is great, not just good?
Well, everybody loved Victor. That was our second single. I don't know that we'll ever live that down.
Yeah, he really loved that.
And he likes the new stuff too. He's all about the new shit, which I appreciate.
But he turned at Victor. That was that was his turning point in the band when he became a fan officially.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yes. Okay. And all the lyrics and all the production swells. I love this part. Yeah. So
that's awesome. So after you put out, that was on your first EP, the self-title. Is that an EP?
Yeah, we didn't even put the EP out until like a whole year later when we were.
Oh wow.
Kind of working with management for the first time, our former management.
Well, tell me about how that process began. So like you had the song out, did you start playing around the area?
Yeah, the song came out. We'd been in New York for like 2 or 3 months only at that point. I was a nanny for 2 little girls. Kenny was doing children's entertainment. And we put the song out and then it blew up. So it went #1 on Hype Machine. We started getting all of these I was answering 30 emails a day and then going to work, you know what I mean? Every day, running from meetings to get my kids, like from work to meetings for like 6 or 8 months, just trying to build the team. We met with all these labels. We met with a lot of industry people and, let them take us out to dinner and listen to the spiel. And we started to get opportunities. Our first opportunity was with, this director, Till Schweiger. He's a German director and also an actor. He was in Inglourious Bastards.
Okay, I know the film.
Yeah, he played Hugo Stiglitz, the German Nazi killer that they break out of prison.
Oh, sure, okay.
So that's Till, and he's a buddy of ours.
Music manager too. Interesting.
He's just been a champion of ours like since the very beginning. We love him. We've spent a lot of time with him in Europe, which is a long story, but we still are working with him. He likes to use our music in his movies.
That's amazing.
He's just a big fan. And, he also like, we'll send him stuff sometimes, like new shit, and just be like, what do you think? And he'll give us his 2 cents. He's a great dude, and he's really passionate about music. So he was our first, like, that was our first like licensing opportunity, was with him, with his production company back in 2014. And we're still working with him, like,
That's
actively
crazy.
now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I know. So it's kind of, it's always a series of events, like, it's like individual people that sort of champion you from the get-go. And it's also, obviously, it's the fans who decide what's good and what's not.
Sure.
And it's just kind of been a series of things that have led us to this point, which I'm not sure what this point is exactly. We're just about to put out a shit ton of new stuff, and we're about it.
I have heard the new single, and it's amazing. So I just wanted to hear that. Yeah. But I want to get to this. I want to get to this single, but I'm very curious on this Hype Machine #1. I mean, that's so huge to have that. I mean, at that time, I don't even, is Hype Machine, I'm sure Hype Machine's still a big deal.
It's not really what it was. No. Like, I feel like we were one of the last SoundCloud bands, to be perfectly honest. Like, there weren't even pictures of us on the internet when Victor blew up.
Okay, because like Quinn 92 came out of that same realm. He got his thing. He had a song that blew up on, it was #1 on Hype Machine at the time. That was like, you know, it's this huge ordeal. So like that, I think that's kind of like, what is that, like the new, that was kind of like how Spotify is now. If they see a song popping off on Spotify or TikTok, it's like, oh, hey, were you getting,
exactly.
So that must have been kind of a similar feeling. Like, I mean, were you watching it climb on Hype Machine and being like,
we were, just because all of the blogs started to write it up. So I was reading the reviews. I was like, wow, there's like another one and another one and another one. And, you know, for a song to go #1 on Hype Machine, it has to all happen like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it did. So, I mean, yeah, we were keeping track of it. It was 5, it was 4, it was 2, and then it was 1. That was a really big deal in 2014. I don't think it's as big of a deal now. I mean, like you said, TikTok and Spotify, they've kind of replaced what Hype Machine was. And honestly, a lot of blogs just don't cover premieres anymore. Like, they don't do premieres anymore. A lot of the bigger ones that, you know, you would try to get your press team to cover 6 years ago or 8 years ago just aren't even doing premieres anymore. Now it's like, if you're not new, if you're not fresh meat, or you're not huge or have some celebrity connection, they don't really want to cover you at all. We're working with
so
a really
unfortunate, you know,
it
like,
sucks. Yeah.
Because there's so many great bands that just kind of, they get thrown under the radar, and it's like, or like they'll give a TikTok moment to some kid who has one song out, and then it's like, okay, and now what's he gonna do? Or she, what are they gonna do? And it's like, I don't know.
Exactly. And I think that the Tastemaker blogs still exist. It's just, for whatever reason, it's become so difficult to connect with them as an artist. We're working with an awesome press team now who we love. And, you know, they're just really good about connecting with Tastemaker blogs and knowing where to place you. I think, you know, press has become kind of a racket, and a lot of artists, I know a lot of artists, and we were operating from the same mentality of like, why would we hire a press team? Like, they don't even understand how to get press anymore. You know what I mean? Because everything changed, and everybody's got to play catch up. And so it's like, it just, everything becomes about Spotify playlisting. And also, like, how many famous friends do you have? You know, who can you attach the name to?
How many influencers do you know?
How many influencer friends do you have? I mean, like, it's really, it is unfortunate, but there is a way around it. I think that we're just kind of figuring it out, and we do have an excellent team now.
And we've gotten a lot of really great like reviews and write-ups for this last album too, from some blogs. I think it's just like the landscape has changed so much from, like you said, the SoundCloud was kind of like, you just get a big blog, and then everyone else comes around, and, you know, you get pushed to Hype Machine, and it was kind of more streamlined. And now it's, you know, all these different kind of ways of hoping to get traction.
It just seems like there's a lot more gatekeepers on the bigger outlets that used to cover new artists, emerging independent artists. You know, like, a lot of them just won't, unless you somebody that works there. And even so, it might not happen.
Sure.
I don't know why. That's just kind of what we've seen and experienced.
Yeah.
And I know it's what a lot of our friends have experienced in the industry as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's more of the gossip news you'll see.
Yes.
And, instead of the, hey, check out this rad new band, because a lot of people will find that just on a Spotify playlist, but
exactly.
But there's gatekeepers on there. It's like, how do you get on the New Music Friday playlist?
Right.
You can't probably just submit your song and it has 30 plays on Spotify, and they're not gonna be like, this is a great song, I'm gonna give it a chance. I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean,
this is a really celebrity obsessed culture, and I think it's really impacted the music industry a lot. I have hope though. I really think there's just so much cool music that's happening right now. We just need to figure out how to get it into the right channels so that, we can just get more ears on it.
Sure.
Because we know so many talented artists that, don't, that a lot of people don't know about. That, it would be great if people did, because they're amazing.
Right. Especially right now when no one's out touring, or you can't throw one of your friends' bands, or not friends, but like a band that you guys like, and put them on a tour with you, and then expose your fan base to them. And it's just like a weird time that we're in currently. But
absolutely.
Well, so you get this, you have this song goes #1 on High Machine. You have major labels, I'm sure, other labels calling you. What was that like? Was it overwhelming? Was it like, like we're going to be, famous rock stars? Like, what was your mentality at that point?
It was definitely weird and overwhelming for me. I've never really wanted to be famous or big. I really value privacy and anonymity. And I think that, like, to want respect for your work is different than to want to be everywhere.
Sure.
And I've had the same like group of friends my whole life. And so I've always had validation, in that sense, and support, real support. So I wasn't really looking for that either. But I've realized, in the last couple of years that if you don't really aim for the stars in this business, you're not even going to get close to living comfortably doing this full time, because it is so competitive.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, if you aren't willing to like take it all the way, it's kind of like, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's like, you better have your 9 to 5 set, because you're not going to, I mean, seriously. So that's what I've kind of realized is, I've definitely been like, I'm putting everything on the line now. Like, I'm just like, here we go. I'll do what I have to do, to get us to the next level, obviously maintaining dignity and integrity, but just in terms of, I don't do that whole like, oh, well, I don't really want to be like huge. Like, I used to go into meetings and say shit like that. Like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? They were looking at me like, girl, what do you want? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And I think just to add to that too, like, I feel like the biggest part of that, like our first show we ever played was like a month after Victor was, Hype Machine #1, and basically like our first show had like 200 people there, probably at least half labels, industry people, just kind of waiting stuff. And we were definitely not, our live show was not ready for where, Victor was and where that was going. So I feel like it was definitely like a lot of pressure. And I feel like that can happen to a lot of artists that kind of blow up off one song overnight. It's like, you have to have so much, there ready with your live show, your branding and everything, like ready to go. And if it's not, then you kind of get put into this weird middle ground of like, there's potential here, but you're not like quite realized yet.
Yeah.
So I feel like we did actually, after that, we did end up getting management and a booking agent. So we did, we bounced back after that, but definitely was a lot of pressure at that point.
We also lived with our parents for a really long time, so that we could be in a position to say no to things. And that's a huge privilege. If you don't have parents who are going to let you just like live at their house while you figure out your music career for a few years, you just a lot of people just take the first deal they get. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I don't have a lot of rights in this deal, and it's not that much. I got to say yes to this because I don't have another option. Yeah. All three of us, Kenny, Isabel, and I, come from families that value music, that
Yeah.
appreciate music, that respect what we're doing, even when they've been worried, even when they've looked at us and gone, guys, what's the backup plan here? You know, they've still allowed us to dream big and helped us out in any way that they could.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, that in and of itself, we were able to say no to a couple things that would have really, you know, not been good for us long term. You know, we own all the masters to our music.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's, yeah. So
that's
it's like
huge in itself nowadays. I mean,
Well,
you have like
exactly,
Taylor
because
Swift going and re-recording records because of it.
that's how the major labels play, you know, and that's how they play. And we said no. And, you know, maybe we would have had a bigger publicity push in the short term. But in the long term, we would have had so much less control over everything. And, we decided that that was not worth it. And now we've been able to build something organically over time that feels real. And we know our fan base. I think I've done a pretty good job in weeding out, you know, the bigots and the racists and the transphobic people, because I don't want them at our shows. So that's the kind of stuff that you get to do when you do it yourself and you're patient and you're in a position of privilege that you can live with your parents while you figure it out, you know?
Sure. Well, after that whole, like, you know, spike and people, all this attention you guys had, you didn't end up signing to a label.
No.
But you did take on management, you took on a booking agent. Did you, because you had this buzz going on, like, did you like take advantage of it as far as like doing a tour, or like, is that when you put the EP out? Like, tell me what was like the next step?
Yeah, we did a bunch of touring in 2015 and 2016, especially.
Okay. Was that with the Airborne EP around that time?
Or that was actually the Airborne EP was 2018.
Yeah, that was later.
But that was like our EP, and then our full release LP, Illiterate Synth Pop.
Our first EP had Victor on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The self-titled. The
self-titled.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we did a tour with Albert Hammond Jr. in 2015.
Oh wow, that's huge.
It was quite a way to start. And
oh wow.
He and his wife are so sweet, and they were so good to us. And we actually we saw them. They just had a baby. We saw them in Berlin. When we were there, we went to one of their show, or to Albert's show, and his wife Justina does the lights.
Oh,
so
cool.
They brought us like backstage after we were with our babysitting kid, and she got to meet them, and it was just so cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're really good people. That was quite a special way to start. And then in 2016, we did Austin City Limits and toured with Louis Del Mar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. We did both weekends at ACL and then 2 late night shows. So we opened for local natives and Cold War kids in between our 2 weekend shows.
Oh, wow.
And then we went straight on tour. So we finished out the next weekend and literally drove from Texas to Michigan and started the tour with Louis Del Mar. And we were on the road with them for like, I don't know what, 3 months, 2.5 months or something, all over. And that was a lot of fun too. We ended up ending the tour in San Diego, actually.
Oh yeah, at the Casbah.
The Casbah.
The Casbah, the best venue in San Diego. That's amazing. I love that venue. That place.
Yeah,
it was so cute.
Oh, it's so great. It's just like, yeah, so many amazing bands have played there, like over the year. I mean, Nirvana played there, which is crazy.
That's crazy. Those are my favorite places to play. Like those cool clubs with all that history, and they're the best.
It's the last one, I think, in San Diego. Soma was a big one because they kind of launched like Blink and stuff, but that venue's had like 9 different variations. It's moved around San Diego like into different spots. So like the original one isn't there, but the Casbah is still the same Casbah. It's pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, tell me, okay, so you get up, like you put out the Airborne EP in 2018, and did the shows get bigger? Were you headlining tours now? I mean, you got to support acts. Like, what was the next step and the kind of the milestone moment on that record?
We didn't do any touring that year, actually. That was kind of a weird year. We weren't really feeling our leadership at that point. So we were kind of feeling like, we were at a bit of a standstill. We tried working with a label for like short term, just for that EP. It didn't really work out. We just felt like our team was just really lackluster. And so we kind of put that EP out. I would say the high point of that EP actually was that we were working for some actors at the time, my old boss, and we were mentoring their daughter in music. She's a talented little singer-songwriter. And they asked if we would come to Europe while they shot 2 different movies for the summer. And turns out one of the movies they were shooting, Till Schweiger was directing.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me, because we'd already agreed to do it, and had no idea that Till was involved in any of the, you know, stuff that my old boss was doing. And so he, of course, was stoked when he found out that we were going to be there. So that's why we spent like a whole summer with him. And he ended up putting like 3 of our songs in that movie. So that would have been the high point, was like going around Europe,
massive.
helping him score this movie and babysitting for these actors that I used to work for. Wonderful family. And just, it was quite a ride. That was probably the high point, was that summer. So even though we kind of had lackluster leadership at that point, you know, we still were able to get, you know, all these songs in this movie and travel the world. You know, it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is really amazing. And then what about, where were you guys when this, because you just put a record out, right? Happy Garden.
We did.
Yes.
And
We actually made that album Happy Garden in 2018. So that was another high point, was making that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think like around 2017 was kind of like, we were kind of just reassessing like our team and everything. And also just like, as well as like our music and our sound, we were kind of like, we're kind of doing the same song over and over again. And I think it was really actually a crucial time for us to like experiment. And that was like really largely Happy Garden. We wrote that with our friend producer, Joey Verscazzi. So we wrote that in 2018 as well in Brooklyn. But that was really an opportunity to try some new sounds and kind of like refocus and kind of see where the future is going as far as like music.
And it was kind of also the beginning of us understanding the value of collaboration with other artists, because it wasn't really something we were doing before this experience with Joey, with Verscazzi. And it really unlocked something in us. And then around that same time, Carnage, the big EDM producer, hit me up and was like, hey, do you guys want to do something? I really like what you guys are doing. And had we had not done that album with Joey, I don't know that we would have felt comfortable saying yes. You know what I mean? Because we were very kind of in our own little, you know, bubble and just kind of like reluctant to collaborate before that experience.
Sure.
And after that experience, it was just like something clicked of like, oh, this is what we should be doing. This is who we are. Like, we work really well with other artists in different genres. It's fuel for us to grow. And we usually end up making really exciting, fun stuff when we collaborate with people who are doing something totally different than we're doing. And it's fun and it's rewarding. And then we're not just arguing the whole time, you know, and we're married, and obviously, you know, so it's good for us to do that, to step out of the Prinze George kind of orb and let the right ones in. And so I think, 2018, 2019 were largely about collaboration. We did a ton of stuff with Carnage in 2019. Came out to LA, worked with him a lot, stayed with him in Vegas, wrote a bunch of shit with him there. So yeah.
Yeah, that was the
I think that brings us to present day 2020. 2020
well, I was curious. Yeah, we're like 2020. Yeah. So you have this record ready, or you finish it, and then the world shuts down, and
exactly.
Then what? Then what do you guys do? Start writing more new music?
On more music, pretty much.
Yeah, we wrote a bunch of new stuff.
Okay.
And kind of just waited it out.
Yeah, and I guess in that time frame also of like all the Carnage stuff, we wrote Letting People Go. We wrote the song and send it to him, and then, you know, a year later he produces it, Diplo remixes it, plays it at Coachella, which was a really cool moment. And then we also, that was like, it was kind of a weird time for us, so it was like cool to feel like these collaborations, things moving forward. And then we also wrote the song with him in the studio that ended up being Wait For Me, featuring G-Eazy and Wiz Khalifa on it as well. So doing these kind of collaborations with him. And
that's why you
that.
do them. So that
Yeah.
if you have a weird year, your music lives on and keeps growing and moving.
Well,
You
so
know,
is
through
that
other outlets.
yeah, is that why you guys waited on Happy Garden to release it? Just because it was like, okay, well, now what are we gonna do? We can't really tour it.
Right. Well, it was like we started releasing singles from the album in 2019, in like fall of 2019. Then we moved here in January, or we got to LA February 1st, 2020. So by that point,
perfect timing.
Yeah, right. So we got here, we built a studio in our house, we renovated our space, moved into our house with our roommates, and then made a music video for Garden in the Sky.
Okay.
We did all that in a month, and then the world shut down. So by the time, like, you know, we were putting out the video and stuff, everybody was just like, it just was not a great time to put out music
right.
for videos. You know, there was just, I mean, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and there was a lot going on. And so, you know, we kind of took our time rolling it out. We were also looking for other members to add to our team. We were looking for other ways to make money, you know, songwriting and licensing. We were kind of trying to figure all of that out. So we kind of took the year to make new music and add people to our team. And yeah, I think we did a pretty good job. Our manager is amazing, our manager that we're working with now. And we just feel great about everybody that we're working with. And it takes time sometimes, you know, to just find those people that are the right fit for you. So I do think that was a blessing. Even though it was a weird year, 2020, we were able to just kind of really be selective about what we wanted to build and who we wanted to build it with. We took the time to do that.
That's amazing. And so since you've been, you know, everyone's been stuck inside, you guys have been working on new music, and you have a new record coming out called Off My Ass. Do you want to talk to us about that one? Like, tell me about that song, and like, when was that written? Was it all during this whole quarantine COVID mess?
Yeah. We wrote that
New Year's Day, right?
the day after New Year's Day. It was
2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like a rough year. I had an accident. I broke my foot, and
I'm sorry. Ouch.
it's okay. Cut my arm open. I'm trying to get into our house. I was locked out. I did on my phone. I thought I'll just hop this fence. Didn't work out. So anyway, it was kind of a weird, I'd never been injured before. And so just kind of the rehab from that, and the things that you have to go through mentally to sort of just get yourself back, get your body back. And just kind of some things that were going on, you know, in our personal lives. It was obviously a tough year for everybody, you know, lost some people, lost quite a few people actually in the last year.
Oh my,
So just kind of a dark time. But you know, that song, I'm really excited to put it out because it's kind of, writing that song was really healing for me and cathartic for me. And it's really about being lost and finding yourself again. And I think that that's sort of set the tone for this next body of work. You know, it's almost a rebirth. It's really about healing and soul searching. And, you know, obviously to get to the light, sometimes you have to face the dark a bit. And that's just kind of the overall vibe.
I love that. And especially, I mean, now it kind of is even relevant to what's currently happening, hopefully. Like, I mean, as far as music goes and the light being kind of there, like people are starting to announce tours and shows. And it's like, is this going to be over soon? Hopefully. I mean, it sounds like it might be. I mean, that must bring you guys some hope as far as like putting in your next piece of work out and being able to actually get out in front of people and play these songs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that last year was the year that anybody thought it was going to be, but you know, at the very least, you know, we learned a hell of a lot about who we are and who we want to be and how we want to live. And, you know, hopefully you know, I know I'm not, especially after my accident, you know, just not taking my life for granted, you know, not taking my body for granted, not taking the people that I love for granted. It's just kind of it's a young attitude to have, you know? So part of getting older is just kind of, I think, realizing that, you know, this is all we have is now. And so, you know, like, don't take it for granted.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. I'm on a positive note, and I'm kind of curious now. Yeah. I thought you guys were married, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
When did was the band going when you guys got married, or were you married and then the band?
It was like everything all started at the same time, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. We like, I mean, because we grew up together. So I grew up in his parents' house anyways. And then we lived there for a while. We also lived with my parents for like 6 months in the beginning. But we kind of started dating at the same time as we formed the band. And we pretty much moved in together like immediately. So when I
known each other for forever, right?
Yeah, it just kind of happened. It wasn't really this big decision. It just sort of happened. I mean, you know, it's like our parents lived 10 minutes away from each other. So it was like, if we got in a fight, I'd just be like, fuck you, I'm going to my mom's house. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you want to go get dinner? Yeah. I'll pick you up.
That's awesome, though. So it all kind of happened with the birth of the band, so to speak.
Totally.
Yeah, it's all just tied into this one big mess that, you know, sometimes results in good music, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. That's awesome.
No, it's
one big mess.
One big mess.
Describe your marriage.
Yeah. No,
it's one big mess with some music in between.
Yeah. Happily married. But yeah, and I think this, I mean, because we are married too, and we have, you know, our studio in our house too, it's like, I think after this year and with this new rollout of Off My Ass and everything, we kind of just, we want to be sharing music with people in real time. Yeah. And a lot of times it's like an album will come out and then we'll wait for 2 years for the perfect time. And I think with this new wave and after everything that happened last year, we're just going to start pumping out, you know, new music
all the time. And we have it. We write a lot of music. We have a lot of stuff that's just been taking up space on the hard drive from the last 10 years. So it's like, we're just like, we don't need to be precious with our songs because we'll just write another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, why wait and be precious with it when you could just put shit out.
I love that. Actually, that kind of leads into my next and final question for you guys is if you had any advice for aspiring artists. Get stuff out.
So much advice. So much advice. But definitely put out music consistently because that's how you get people interested. And I think it's also how you keep your fans interested and engaged with what you're doing. It's really up to them at the end of the day. Don't get swayed by the industry people. The record industry is crumbling anyway. They don't know what the fuck to do. They're like, like, you know, people are going more independent now and cutting out like labels because it's like, what can you give us that we can't give ourselves? You know? So put out music regularly, I would say, focus on that and collaborate, even if it makes you uncomfortable, because chances are it's going to be really exciting and surprising, and it's going to yield some really cool music that you wouldn't have made on your own.
Yeah. And I think from like a production, you know, standpoint for advice too, I definitely think it's just really important to like follow your sound, like what you want to do. Don't get wrapped up in too many trends or what music's like pop in at this time, you know, and just trust in yourself. You know, it's so easy. There's so many producers out there. There's so much music being made. I find myself even sometimes like, oh, I suck, you know, at these technical, like making a drum beat, all this stuff. But one thing I feel like I've stuck to is just trusting my sound and like what I want to hear and just putting that out. So I think that'll get you farther than trying to follow to any trends or anything. Just really be true to yourself. Bringing it backward.